I'm Cassandra Vieten, President and CEO of the Institute of Noetic Sciences. IONS was founded over 40 years ago by the Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who was the sixth person to walk on the moon. And as some of you know, on his way back from his moonwalk, Edgar had the window seat in the space capsule and had what he called an epiphany, where he, number one, recognized his essential interconnectedness with everything he saw and felt like he could see sort of a divinity or intelligence or order shining through everything. The second was that when he looked at the Earth from space, you can see there are no boundaries between countries when you view the Earth from space. Those are human constructions, and so many of the other problems that are facing us on our planet right now are really caused by limitations in human consciousness. So he thought when he came back to Earth, if we could use the same amount or even a fraction of the ingenuity and resources and time and energy that we'd spent going into outer space, investigating inner space, that might really help us evolve as a human species and for the whole planet. So he founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and over the last 40 years, we've grown into a global organization. Really, IONS rests on 4 pillars. One is direct experience, direct noetic experience, which means that when you have a subjective experience that you know for certain to be true, that you feel in your heart, kind of the way you know that you love a loved one, that maybe couldn't be measured directly, but you know that it's true all the same, that's what we call noetic. And so what Edgar saw was, let's take those deeply subjective experiences and marry them with objective knowing or science. And that's really what the phrase noetic science means. So the second pillar is science, and this is where we use the tools of objective observation to look deeply at those subjective inner experiences with all the same rigor that we use with other methods of scientifically investigating the natural world. We turn that lens inward and we find out when somebody has an experience like Edgar had of oneness or interconnection, is there some physical reality to that? Is there some measurable reality to that sense of interconnection? When people feel connected to each other at a distance, or they feel like they've had a massive transformation in their worldview, sometimes even in the space of just a few minutes, can we get at what makes that happen for people? And on a positive transformation level, how can we make it happen more for people? The third is giving people tools and ways to apply their new understandings, both from their inner knowing, but also from science, to make the world a better place, whether it's in your family, your own life, your neighborhood, your community, your school, your institution. We really look at how can people take noetic experiences and the science that has been conducted on those, that expands on those, and re-infuse the world with soul and heart and spirit and even a kind of magic. Sometimes we like to say we'd like to re-enchant the world. And the last is community. And so when we look at the major transformations in the course of human history that moved us into a new way of being, like the Renaissance or the scientific enlightenment, what we know is that it started with direct experience. People scientifically investigated it or objectively looked deeper into it. They came up with ways to apply it in everyday life, but the most important thing was getting it out to the community and giving people places to go where they could share what they'd learned, where they could explore without fear of being put down or ostracized, where they could really be all of who they were. And that's what we hope the IONS community groups can be for people. So we have nearly 200 community groups all over the world, and I've traveled to visit many of them, and a lot of people tell me that it's the only place they can go to talk about topics that are very deeply meaningful to them in an intelligent way, without having to subscribe to any kind of dogma or rigidity, but just taking that exploratory way of being. One very powerful function of the community group network is that when we have a piece of news or some kind of a success story or a way that noetic science is really making a difference in the world, we can pulse it out to the community group network in a way that rapidly travels all around the planet. And in that way, we really believe that the community group network is a fundamental part of IONS' mission to, in a way, carry the message, sometimes not even carry a message, but carry the right questions out into the world. So more more and more people begin to open their eyes to a different way of being, a different way of knowing, and to that meeting place of science and spirituality, head and heart, intellect and soul, and really the inner knowing and the outer ways of knowing. So we appreciate you being a conduit for that global network. And please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.